Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an Object Show fan that has barely watched any Object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss Object Show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter, and I guess we have to add one to the list as well. Non-recommendations. I mean, the series that we are going to be discussing today, is part of what I am calling the Road to MCS. So a couple of days ago, we started the Road to MCS by watching BOI and BOIR, which are the series for Battle of Idiots. However, because we have to reach MCS, which is quite a popular series, however, it's the 5th season of its respective show, so that means that, we have to do quite a lot to get there. So before that means that we have to watch the series. Now, we could theoretically skip this season. It's recommended that we skip the season and watch the origin explained instead. However, I don't want to watch an explanation. I don't want to watch somebody tell me vaguely what happened and I don't remember. I need to watch it for myself, alright? So that means that we are going to be watching the BFBOI, or Battle for Battle of Idiots, if I'm not mistaken. That's what that means. It was mostly released 7 years ago, except for the finale and the first episode, which got remastered, that we will be watching. Okay, if that all makes sense. And then that 2 to 13 range will be the 7 to 6-year-old series. All right, so we're going to be doing that. Currently, I don't have anything else planned after it because I just kind of I don't know how long this is gonna take. If this takes more than multiple hours, I might not be capable of putting in another thing, which will happen. But yeah. So let's keep it moving. Let's start off here with episode 1, or the one remaster, called "Break the Crate!" Exclamation mark. Let's watch it. Alright, I just watched the episode 1 remaster BFBOI, one of only 2 episodes that you're actually recommended to watch. The rest we're going to uncharted evil territory, but for now we're still supposed to watch these. So, we end up having here a previous contestant, and then Fish Fella ends up going like, alright boys, you guys are gonna do the competition again, because they have rebooted the season. So, immediately I'm getting some vibes, especially if you consider BOI one episode, then immediate reboot in BOI, or one episode, then immediate reboot in BFBOI. I must say, this fella, there's something going on here, This guy's suspicious because they just go off and then they come back and, oh no, I want to do a new season because, so much time has passed. Where have you been off to this entire time? What has bro been up to? I don't know what bro has been up to, but there's gotta be an important plot point, in one of the seasons that matters. Right, probably not this one, but probably like Boy Bill, whatever the next one's called. Like, that one's gotta be an important plot point. What Fish has been doing outside of these times, because otherwise, like, bro. Anyways, they decide to remaster it with way more contestants, including every single recommended character, and every eliminated character as well, which means that we end up having a cast of 28. To be fair, I mean, of course, I would immediately start doubting you from 7 years ago, because I would go, hold on a minute, you can't make a show with more than one episode, and now you're gonna make a show with double the contestants. Okay, yeah, cool. But the main thing that I'd say is that, like, this is BFB, to be fair. This is what you do in BFB. BFB is the concept, that takes every single recommended character, or at least every, character in universe, and turns them into a contestant, regardless of who they are. So this is trying to be BFB, of course, because it's Battle for Boy. And yeah, we have ourselves an intro. I'm going to be very curious to see how the original intro is. Some of these assets are very interesting. They're probably, some of them are kind of rough, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't, like, Diamondy just being a square? Like, what, a diamond block? What are you? You just look like a freaking square of blue. Like, what diamond? Then There's a couple of fella like gold. It just looks like a freaking yellow rectangle. It doesn't look like a gold bar because we didn't like the model isn't built that way. And lava's the worst offender. That just looks like a squiggle of spaghetti. You know, spaghetti and sauce. Like that's just what that looks. So yeah, not the model's not great, but I think we're probably trying to just replicate the ones from BFBOI, so that makes sense. 5 teams of 5. Who are our teams that we're going to be dealing with? We're going to have the first team, which is Team Armless, because they're all armless, which, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. This team is Ribbit Image arm, literally, like half arm. That's what they are. Their character that's the shape of a half arm. The bucket, this bird fella, I don't remember the name of him, winner, which is the reverse loser. You gotta remember this was BFB era. The loser was just the character everybody liked. So the obvious joke is that winner is the character everybody hates. You know. This was BFB era. Okay, yep, I understand. It's funny. It's funny. Okay, it would have been funny in the era for sure. Then we have ourselves Team OK because the team is okay according to Glasses. This is OJ's team that they formed, just asking people that yo, you need help and you're cool. This is every team, every show gotta have a power friendship team. This feels like the friendship team, you know, always gonna be like, guys, we're such friends, we're gonna win the challenges no matter what. And even though the people don't really get along with each other that well. Then we have Team Y with Jeffy, the box fella, the Diamond, the JC, and Lava. I mean, if we consider that apparently in the recap video we said that JC don't associate with them and Jeffy's bad, then this is the illegal team. This is the evil team. And we got Diamond, the and Lava, which are the two characters with the terrible designs. So that's just tough. This team is kind of this team is an oof. We got Team Gun because we have this red stick that's just super evil, like super mean. They're a mean character 102. Just like shut up anytime somebody talks. But then otherwise it's a pretty OG. You know, we got the hanger and the fish tag. We got the fake apple. We still don't have the other character, right? Pinky. Even though we've brought everybody back, Pinky still isn't here, which is interesting. You know, can be like a BFDI, like kind of like Evil Levy and stuff. So what you know how they're missing because that's like the one character that's missing. So I think it's interesting. Then we have the We Are Cool or the WRC, introduced by Black Holy, which is a character that exists. I mean, it's always good to have these little characters. Sorry for the coffee. I mean, it's always good to have these characters that are like you know, a bit funny. Like I find the concept of a black hole with a face and arms to always be really, really funky because it always gets like 100,000 views on YouTube every time a Teapot episode releases. Just black hole but with a face. And like this, I mean, you don't have a mouth, so you're like kind of there. They got Ben Deefy, which makes the team have an extra member. A 7, just as a character. Shorts. I don't even know what that is. It looks like an eraser. But then the challenge is to break the box open. If it's not open, you do it. Technically, yes, technically the first challenge that isn't a balance beam. However, at the same time, while it is the first challenge that isn't a balance beam, it is also not of the original challenge because that is very similar to the Jawbreaker concept from BFB. Black Hole manages to suck up the box, which means it's gone, so technically open. So the same thing happens with Lava burning it on that team. The main thing that's working against this challenge concept is that basically, right, they don't need to retrieve something from the box. Like the box isn't containing something that you gotta give because the box is just there and you have got to open it. There's nothing in there, but it just has to be open, which means that you can burn it all down or like, you know, as the black hole that suck it up. And it's not, it wouldn't lose you the challenge. There was something in there that would be bad strategy because it would burn, it would break as well, and you need the thing inside. But the teams end up having a relatively easy time because the challenge is on easy mode where you just have to break it open, nothing in there. Somehow winner ends up breaking the box open, and then the last team save is Team OK, I think, because they broke the box open even though OJ is dead, which means that the team that was up for elimination was gonna be the Team Gun, where we have, I mean, we have a theoretically obviously mean character with the red stick, so theoretically they would be eliminated. So far, still, as of BFBOI 1, neither Ben Deefy or Ribbit Image have yet lost the challenge, so that's kind of interesting. And yeah, I mean that's the BFBO1 remaster. Now it's officially time to head into the illegal zone, okay? Where we're going to be watching the episodes from 7 years ago. The playlist literally says, this season is bad, don't watch it. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm obviously going to watch it because I got to watch it, okay? I'm a professional out here. I don't skip stuff except for Object Fool, which I skipped, but don't but pretend I didn't. Like, yeah, I'll watch it sometime. I promise. Like, I'll watch it. Maybe at the time of the next animatic episode. Maybe I could. I don't know. But anyway, I'm getting hilariously sidetracked. Episode 2 of BFBOI was titled Juggle Gelatin. Let's watch it. Wow. Okay, I just watched episode 2. You know, I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for the quality decrease. But we're watching it. We got a Bandicam recording of of like a video player with the episode on it. I don't know why you couldn't. Why couldn't you just upload the file of the episode? Then it's a .mov that works on YouTube. Okay, whatever. Then we have ourselves the elimination where Red Stick gets out. They know what they get out. Apparently, if you get eliminated, you turn into a fish. Apparently, so that's useful lore. We're gonna have a full. Everybody's gonna be a fish in the sea, and the challenge is to juggle gelatin. All right, whatever that means. So you got a bunch of assets of gelatin. You got to juggle, and the worst juggling wins. There's a couple of assets for sure. The OJ one is much more like the. It's probably actually stolen. Or maybe it could be stolen from BFDI because this is the way that the BFDI recommended character was very similar to that. To be honest, then we got also Seven looks terrible. The asset for Seven is so cooked. I'm not gonna lie. Like that looks like a freaking square. That doesn't look like a square. It looks like a freaking gun. And then there's the asset for whoever the hell it is. Black. To be fair, Black Hole looks pretty much the same. Diamondy low key kind of looks more diamondy here than there. I'm just saying. That one is actually maybe had a decrease in quality with the redesign. But that's like the only one. I mean, and then some have remained the same, like Hanger, where like you couldn't really switch it up. Jeffy, by eating the gelatin, ends up being up for elimination. My presumption is that they get eliminated, but I don't really know what we were doing in December 28th of 2017, and I don't know what the general sentiment towards Jeffy from Super Mario Logan was, but they did lose the challenge, and everybody else thinks that they're ever bad, so presumably they would get eliminated, but I mean, I don't exactly know. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of funky to watch this show. The intro is actually completely different. It's just a BFB intro with a lot of the characters swapped out, and when there were too many, we just added some stick figures, as you do. I've seen a lot of people do this. I was like, oh shit, we need every character, so okay, let's just add some random bullshit. And like, well, that doesn't really work, but I mean, sure, if you want to try it. But I mean, look, I know it's bad. That's the expectation. I don't mind it being bad. I don't mind. I've watched worse. I've watched worse. I've watched, I will take a look at every show, whether it's quote unquote bad, because bad had its charm, and I don't mind supporting bad as well. Episode 3, how original again. Okay, I just watched episode 2. How did it get worse? How did the quality get worse from episode 2 and 3? I couldn't hear like half of it. I'm not gonna lie. The other one I could listen to. This one, the microphone quality is taking a dip. We were recording this like in a windy day or something. I don't know what was going on. Is that is kind of crazy. I'm not even gonna lie. But anyways, we have ourselves an elimination time with 31 votes, of which 25 go to Jeffy. I'm gonna say one thing which I do actually really like. One thing that I really like, and I do think more shows should try to do it. I really enjoy the concept of having the total vote count up there, and then it decreases once the votes are given out per person. Whoa, that's cool though, isn't it? That's kind of swag. You know what? It will be really interesting as well if like there's a bunch of ways to show the elimination procedure that I don't think have ever been tried that will be interesting. Like for example, what if in a show you showed the elimination procedure person by person without showing the total votes, for example, and then you showed person by person how much they got. So then it's like the person with the most is always, it's more suspense because the person with the most might be more or less than the last person or the next person. Like it's completely random order. And that would make a fire voting system. I'm not even gonna lie. I think more people should test out some different voting system that isn't just cake a steak for the millionth time. Anyway, they end up all going to the tiny fish chamber. Which I mean, I'm sure they're gonna enjoy being fish down there. I hope they get fed food. Then we have our challenge: balance beams, except there's one per team, and they happen to exist. I mean, it's a relatively chill experience until Black Holy accidentally sucks up the balance beam for being too close to it, which makes the entire team fall except for the weird blocky fella. However, then Black Holy gets disqualified for flying, which yeah would make sense. So then they fall, and that their team loses. Thank God for that, because otherwise that team would survive for literally for like every team would survive. Like, why would you ever move? You know, there wouldn't be literally any reason to ever do that. Um, uh, Vote to eliminate 7, and then it's like it's just like time New Roman or whatever font. That's fun. Who would get eliminated out here? I mean, I don't know. Most of them didn't get screen time, to be honest. I'm gonna guess Pant because it's spelled wrong. Okay, Pant eliminated. Or I mean, it was Black Holy's fault, but I do think Black Holy stays because I think I saw him in the thumbnail. So I'm gonna say Pant. All right. Um. Anyways, that is episode 3. Yeah, the mic quality has somehow got worse. Let's find out heading. Oh yeah, I forgot it's a double them. JC and Jeffy got eliminated, which is for the good of society. We have eliminated all evil people. So let's go to episode 4. Go to the moon. Okay, I just watched episode 4. Ain't no way we're doing contestant voting in this show. We're not at those leagues yet, you know. That's not what we're. That's not the level of writing that we're not there yet. All right. So we get recovered, everybody. I don't know how you recover a black hole, but let's just say that we can do that. Here our elimination ends up having Ben Deefy eliminated in the first time that they lose. So good job, Ben Deefy. You have officially become fish. Then we have apparently all of the recommended characters which have to join in a challenge. Their challenge is a classic balance beam challenge. Then it ends up that Robot Leo and some red bow, ends up making it through. We don't get to find out anything about these people before they head into the challenge. We just know that they exist, that they are people on Earth. So it's like, okay, I mean, sure. Um, Vendors, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I did find it interesting. I don't know who Glass is. I wonder if it's I don't know Fishy's friend, because like you're just a piece of glass. Wait, there's 2 glasses. Wait, what? Are there 2 glasses? What in the no? There's Diamondy, which is not Glassy. That's a different person, bro. This is crazy. But anyways, yeah, I mean the main issue with these original episodes that we're facing here is mainly entirely just that like there was a major misunderstanding of how a microphone works. Like you're just too close to it, you know? You're too close to it. You wind, you can hear it, and then so that way like the microphone peaks every couple of seconds, and it's like yeah. It's unfortunate. Again, I'm giving advice as if like we don't obviously the creators don't obviously know, but hey, I'm pointing out the episodes as that's even because that's what we do out here in the catch-up tank. Okay, then we have ourselves our challenge just to get to the moon. Black hole, everybody grabs onto black hole to get through. This was a thing that they did in some challenge, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like in BFB, what did they do this in BFB? I swear one team did the thing of everybody holding hands and then flying off. This was definitely a thing. They did it with like Balloony or something. I don't know. They did this with somebody, but they eventually do something similar to it here. Then the other team just so happens to have a rocket ship, which happens to exist. So, all right, they're having fun going on it. Then the other team copies their rocket ship, which, okay, sure. I mean, let's say Robot Leo can do that. They maybe could do that, right? So, yeah. Then we have the last 2 teams safe. So, Team Armless tries to win, but wait, do they win? No, they lose, right? Hold on. Who? I don't know which team. Wait, Armless team. Hold on, I'm sorry. I don't know. Yeah, Team Armless up for elimination. I don't know how the other team ended up being safe, to be honest, but like, look, they must have done a great job getting to the moon before the other team. I trust this writing to make 100% sense. The writing of March 4th, 2018. All right, I trust it. Um, and yeah, I mean, is there anything else to say? We got animators, to be fair, and the animation quality has been It's been very watchable. For being a season that's bad, like quote unquote, literally recommended. Oh no, this is terrible. You cannot watch this. It's like surprisingly watchable. It's just not very listenable. That's kind of the thing. That's the main problem with it. It's not very listenable. It's watchable, but listenable is a different thing. So yeah, episode 5. Oh no. Okay, I just watched episode 5 after a little bit of a break. I mean, like, yeah, we end up having ourselves an elimination with the hit fish fella. The intro gets postponed. I'm not gonna lie, I got debated. I got proper debated there. I was just expecting the intro to play. I didn't think that we were gonna be debating out here. Look, I like the BFB song, right? I jammed to it. Okay, so so I didn't mind. But anyways, they have a time elimination where the eliminated contestant ends up being Owl. This fish, okay, this fish a voice in this show, like just in general, this episode, for example, it just feels like we looked at BFB, right? We watched BFB, and every time that they did the thing, every time that they did a thing in BFB, they were like, well, I can do that, and then we just freaking try doing it. Like we just take the exact same concept but mildly different, and then try it. But anyway, eventually Owl, who doesn't speak, gets off to the fish tank. So that's fair. Then the fish, for some reason, flies off and then gets sucked off into Black Holy. No real clue why, but they eventually okay, so they're the host, and you see, like even they pointed out, yo, isn't this just like the donut thing, where like the host is now inside, literally within you? So it's like, and now you're the host by de facto, I guess, because of that. Yes, it is, and they know, which makes it funny. So the challenge is to apparently. Oh yeah, by the way, we did actually have a updated intro with Black Hole. I like that because it would have been pretty easy to just take the old intro and play it earlier, so that way we don't need to play it here. But um, now we took advantage of it. There is even some additional black holes added onto it, so that's kind of fun. Then we have ourselves the challenge, which is to find the fish. So what we're gonna do? You're gonna suck up everybody. Everybody's going in, and then the challenge is to find them. So, interesting. So I mean, they off doing that. They're just dying at completely random interval. Okay, here's the deal. If you fall into a black hole, you will die. Did you know? So, these characters, they should theoretically all die pretty instantaneously, pretty immediately, right? Okay, cool, all sounds good. However, no, they're dying at random intervals, and some of them survive, some of them are just chilling and fading, some of them are doing a thing and then fading, right? And then it's like, what is. But then eventually Diamondy ends up finding the fish, and then somehow we discovered the new capability of Black Holy, newly discovered capability. You cannot only suck, you can spit as well. Because I did not know they could do it. I thought the problem with the black hole was that when they suck up everything, they can't bring it back out because that's the only thing they do is bring things in. They don't push things out, right? So when Diamondy goes in and finds it, there's no way. How can Black Hole get them out? That's not how that works, because like if Diamondy could have just like if you can do that to Diamondy, surely you can just do that to Fish, right? But that's gotta be what's happening. So that is the major narrative flaws going on in this episode, and Black Hole is just upset, but they're still safe because look, at least you said you found it, so that's fine. And meanwhile, the OJ's team is up for elimination. Not sure what exactly they did other than some of them dying, but I don't know. So who would get eliminated? Probably the Minecraft dude. They were kind of annoying while also dying. So that's probably what I predict. How does the voting thing work? I don't know, because apparently it's not in the comments. So we probably discovered the hit the Google form. Did we discover Google Forms? You know, that's pretty solid if we discovered Google Forms. I think BFB by this time was still using comment section. So hey, Google Forms are pretty solid. They're a pretty good way to do stuff. Absolutely. But yeah, microphonically speaking, that's not a word, but pretend it is. We are improved in this episode. It seems like the microphone quality and has just kind of depends on the day. You know, it's just kind of like there's not much consistency about where these episodes are recorded and how they're recorded. So if it's a good day, boom, we're getting a good recording. If it's a bad day, boom, we get in wind central. All right. So I mean, okay then. All right. I guess that's what we're doing. All right, let's head into episode 6, which is titled Run with 3 exclamation marks. That's how you know it's real. Let's go. Okay, I just watched episode 6 of BFBOI. So, I mean, like, this is certainly an episode. We end up having the fact that everybody's dead. So, of course, we need to, recover pretty much everybody because Black Holy had the incredible idea. Yeah, let's just sign everybody up. Yep, let's go. New strat. Great host that they are. So they do that, and they're like, "Yo, do you got a recovery machine?" And I mean, I guess you could, because well, they end up fetching one off from Earth, which works to revive everybody except the fish fella, who still remains dead within Black Holy, as nobody else ever found them except Diamondy, who then didn't. So no, the Diamondy who couldn't latch onto them, so they end up still being out. And then, yeah, we have ourselves the elimination. One thing that I am wondering, absolutely, is why the hell does Black Hole not just bring them to Earth? You know, like that. Like, the reason how they got to the moon is because of him. But now the reason, but they still not the reason like they can't go back, and it feels like the fact that they're on the moon has been an active inconvenience to most things. That's how the fish cause started, because they were on the moon, right? That's how the recovery centers aren't there, because we're on the moon, right? So we couldn't get the one that was ordered, right? Like that stuff, it just isn't working. It's just mainly a fault of being in space. So bring them back, bro. Anyways, eliminated ends up being the Minecraft guy with incredible amount of votes, 55 compared to the 15 for the second number. So far, these eliminations have been extremely one-sided. Like there hasn't been too many shocks. Like it just seemed like the clear candidate. People don't really like him. It's just a random guy, right? It doesn't really fit the thematic of the Object Show. They're annoying. They lost him the challenge, all that stuff. But yeah, the challenge ends up being a race, a parkour challenge. I don't know about parkour. There was no obstacle to actually jump over. But yeah, some teams use the rocket car from the other time that they copy and paste because of the Robo guy, which I had a name. I forgot. What was your name? What was your name? Hold on. Robot Leo, yeah. Then we end up having the other team that end up running through with the power of friendship. And then the armless team ends up making it, I guess, by just flying. So Team Gun is up for elimination. Fish Tank, Bo, the Hat Fella, the Red Bow, and Fake Apple. I'm predicting the Fishbowl gets eliminated. They're kind of grumpy. They're also got something to do with fish, which is both like fish as the concept that gets you eliminated, right? Because remember, you get turned into a fish if you get eliminated. Usually not anymore, because you're currently, of course, not a thing, so you just go to jail. Although maybe it could be potentially an important detail if like you end up getting sent to jail. Like if you end up getting sent to jail, maybe that would be a thing. But like in general, I'm not really sure. We have only one voice act. Interesting group here. We got 5 people, plus 2 for animators and plus 1 writer, I think, right? So that's a group of like what, 8 or like 6, like no, I think it's about like 7 people. who were working on this at the time, and it's really interesting. The part I not understand about the show is just the quality varied so much. You know, like it just feels like it's such a different quality change from scene to scene and just the VAing. Of the same character, no less. Like Black Holy during the elimination, hard to listen to. Black Holy, when explaining the challenge, suddenly makes sense. All is good. All is Gucci Gang Gaming, and it's like what? It's like what has changed? Like that's the thing that I'm not understanding about this show. Because like if it was just a global kind of low quality style show, is that okay? I mean, it's fine, that was the measures. But it's interesting because the show always it gives you glimpses of how it can be at its peak, but then it just hits you with an audio clip that was recorded like in a car or whatever, and it's like it's just or an audio mix that's super quiet and you can't listen to anybody, but we didn't do a retake. It's like that type of stuff. That it doesn't. It's not like why. Why are we doing that? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? Right? Um, and it's kind of a bruh moment. That's the one thing that's definitely holding the show back. Cause otherwise it's kind of fine. But yeah. All right. Anyways, the seventh episode of the hit series BFBOI is titled Hidden Targets. I'm glad that we did include 7 in the thumbnail for episode 7. I would have had to call the police, being like, hey, that's illegal. The episode is 7 years old. It's episode 7. It has 7 in the thumbnail. 7 is going to be in it. It has 107,000 views. Shout out to the number 7. There's got to be one of the 7 best numbers in the world. All right, okay, I'm going to stop. Oh, wait, aren't there 7 wonders of the world? Wait. Am I making that up? I'm definitely making that up. I'm going on tangents. Okay, episode 7, Hidden Targets. Let's go. Okay, that is episode 7 of BFBOI. So, make a reaction video, please. I mean, does not count. This is not reaction content, even though it might be in a similar category. This is not reaction content. All right. Okay, look good. Okay, yeah. Anyhow, I would just like to point out that I'm really curious about what the hell black holes going on with their eyes. Like their face just randomly, like their eyes just randomly have been like swapping, whether it's like with just like again, it's not transparent, which I thought it was for a moment. It's not transparent and you see the background. No, it's specifically this like shade of dark blue a black hole just has sometimes. Like it's very weird. It's usually on the left eye. Sometimes it's the entire thing. Sometimes it's just the eye, not the eyebrow. Like I wonder if that has is that is just an animation thing or if that has everything to do with what's going on with them. Like maybe because it's a very interesting thing, and we have fish is within them. Fish is okay. Fish is both that color, roughly, roughly that color. Black Hole's head is starting to hurt more and more. They're getting meaner because they're just like they're just in a worse mood all the time, right? And they're also just like kind of in general just let's being a bit more host-like, which implies that maybe, just maybe, fish could be with trying to steer the ship, like within them, something like that. Maybe I'm not exactly sure, but that is like the vibes that I'm imagining because it's kind of interesting. I'm not gonna lie. We have a couple of recommended characters. I think the first time that we get to see recommended characters here, they get cut off before. I thought there were gonna be way more. I'm not gonna lie. One of them is like a book, whatever. Then we have our plot line. Oh yeah, the team Armless is trying to figure out how to get there. For some reason, everybody's bullying Bucket in this episode. That's today's theme. Today's topic. um but they're just trying to get to Earth. They, I guess, aren't aware of the recovery center on the moon because if they were, they could just, die and they'd get recovered up there. So they decide to use the scream of Diamond D. No, wait, of Glassy. Yeah, Glassy, the glass fellow who screams. So they do end up getting up there. They die because they get launched immediately into the black hole on accident. But yeah, winner ends up forcing somebody to be their friend. And then we have ourselves a challenge, which is to throw a ball at a target. Only one person is allowed to, which Black Holy picks. I always find these challenges a little bit unfortunate when it's not like how do I say this? When the team don't get to pick who does it. You know, like I always find that it's such a strategic element of a one-person challenge when like the team can pick who does it, so they get to debate who's better, who's gonna have the better chance, who's gonna be faster, who's gonna be stronger, right? Where like the teams can try to use their strength, but like a lot of these challenges, this isn't just a thing for this object show. I'm taking a lot of opportunity with this object show to talk about some broader topics that it brings up, but like in a lot of object shows, it's like it's a randomizer. Oh, you'll be in random pairs. Oh, you'll like yes, this person does it, this person does it, and then like the host decides, kind of like what's going on here. This happens in a lot of shows, but then it's like it's a bit sad because it's like it's such a tactical element when that's not the case, and teams actually get to pick the strong members, so that way the strong teams can prosper, but the lower team can prosper. It makes it way more RNG because you can have a team of the 8 best target throwers of all time, but if Black Holy picks the bad one, you are cooked, you know. Anyways, every team's fine. For some reason, 7 screws up the 7th episode massively. They're just freaking like a robot, dun 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 dun, and they don't ever realize that you gotta throw it higher, my G. You're throwing it too low. Um, so they end up being up for elimination because Bucket randomly locks in after getting screamed at. You can do it, and they end up doing it. So fair enough. Yet again, if I'm not mistaken, this is kind of a challenge in BFB, if I'm not mistaken. Not that much, but it's kind of like the bucket challenge. You know, you have to throw the balls at the at the basket. Sorry, you have to throw the balls at the basket, drops down, like kind of, and then yeah, you end up with the same kind of rhetoric. Oh, you can do it, throw the thing, you know. But like, okay, sure. Um, for some reason, you can't vote Black Holy, which is crazy. Why not? I mean, like, no, I understand why you wouldn't. It's because Black Holy is currently the host. Sure, that makes sense. But if Black Hole is currently the host, like they don't get to break the rules. You know, they're still a competitor. They're still a contestant. So you should have just made the team safe. I'm not gonna lie. If you were gonna have some meta rule breaking stuff that you can't do, should have just made them safe. You know, like that something is off. Or at least being like, no, I'm safe because I'm me. You know, like a decision has to be made because Black Holy themselves think that they're eliminated. That not that they're eliminated. That they're up for elim, right? So it's like, come on, bro, what? Anyways, yes, we are using Google Forms for voting. This one has kept the link while the other videos did it. Episode 8 is titled, Who Are These Guys? Let's watch it. Let's talk about it. Let's do all of that stuff. Let's go. Okay, I just watched episode 8 of BFBOI. Who are these guys? So, we are getting a little bit of, I guess, half intel. Like, I don't really know. Black Holy has just gotten meaner since. I think the whole thing about the eye being a certain color or whatever with Black Holy, I think that was just kind of a that episode thing. It would have been cool, alright? It would have been cool if that was how it went down, you know? It was like, yo, the eyes fish taking over, but like in this episode I don't think it happens a single time, so I think that's just not what we're doing. I think that's just Black Holy being mean overall. Pants gets eliminated. For some reason they're actually friends with Winner, because I thought the joke was that you didn't like Winner, you know, is Winner, like Winner literally held you hostage so that you would be friends with them. However, now that's not what we're doing, and we're instead doing this thing where you end up actually being friends with Winner. So okay, that's interesting, especially because Winner gets eliminated right now. I feel like if Winner no, not Winner, Pant gets eliminated right now, I feel like if they were getting eliminated, I feel like that'd just be kind of dumb. But okay, we do also have Fish, by the way, appear in the post-credit scene as the replay, which is very interesting as a take too. Not sure if that's on purpose. Also, this show is just like slowly falling apart. like from like inside out. It's just like it's crumbling. Like you can tell, the elimination time theme is slowly disintegrating. The intro at this point has lost like half its length and has glitched itself out completely. Like we're getting the show is literally in the process of disintegrating episode by episode, and I'll be surprised if it doesn't absolutely combust into flames soon. Anyways, eventually Black Holy ends up deciding to get a bunch of random people from random places to be the new co-host, which Black Holy, by the way, somehow knows about. It's like, oh yes, I remember that in another dimension, and there was the battle for Dream Planet being made. Like, how do you know? What the fuck? Okay, you're a black hole, which means time, whatever. I'm sure you would know some additional things. But, like, a black hole is still only a thing that works in this dimension. How the hell does Black Holy know that in another dimension they're doing a show? Like, what? We have a couple of, I guess, collabs, if I'm not mistaken. We have Good, which I think is from Object Cringe. This is, of course, we're talking old Object Cringe out here, but this was a show that was happening at roughly the same time, so I don't think that we're doing it. I'm not sure. We don't actually have credits for the other people present, I think, which what, like, is there? Yeah, I don't actually see credits for the people, which is definitely interesting, and it kind of half implies that maybe we just took characters from people's shows without asking them, which would be kind of weird in a show that's like trying to be an actual show. Like we're just like, is that actually what we're doing? Did we just steal good from Object Crit? I hope not, but I didn't see a credit, so. We took a guy called Adobe. We took a backpack from somewhere. We also took just Leo, like Leo themselves, the OC that we know. We still the channel profile. So all right, and then they are official, and Z, which is from somewhere. We don't know where Z is from, but they are also there. Ta-da! And then we have some voting here for the co-host. I'm not sure who gets in. To be honest, I would predict, because by the way, vote to eliminate. That's not what that is. I would predict that 9 gets in because they are the first person on the queue, or Good because Object Cringe. I think Object Cringe is pretty popular around then as well. But genuinely, I'm not 100% sure right now. It could be like any of the above. But yeah, interesting little episode. Fish might be still alive, but they're kind of doing weird. They're doing some interesting things, but all right, we'll get to see it. This show so far has definitely improved in watchability. Because the microphone still definitely is having quite a struggle in terms of variation, and going like, oh, this part's really high quality, this part's really low quality, right? However, while that is still 100% happening, it is happening at a way more contained level than usual. Like overall, the low quality has been a much higher quality, which means that even the low quality is like it's bearable. So this show is getting more bearable by the moment, which I am definitely enjoying. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see. The voices are quite different. I remember we saw the freaking backlash of Black Holy from the past. Like they actually sounded so different. Oh my god. Episode 9 of the show is titled Yoga. For some reason, its title is entirely in lowercase. We have 9 in the thumbnail, of course. I appreciate the fact that we're doing the most important part, which is that. All right, let's go watch it. Hello, I just watched episode 9 of BF Boy, which is interesting how, like, I don't think we've ever said the title Battle for Battle of Idiots. Have we ever actually said that in one of the episodes? Maybe in episode 1, but I forgot, because, like, it's always been Battle for a Boy, like, that's always been the thing. And I don't know if he ever did the prize joke, so I still don't know if you have a prize. Anyways, eventually they're all scuffling at the top because I guess their legs can extend. We have a couple of interactions. Yet again, it's proven that everything that I say about this show immediately gets counteracted in the next episode. I'm like, oh, the show's slowly crumbling apart. And then in this episode, everything is fine. Black Holy is fine. The intro is fine. The elimination time theme is fine. Even though the last 3 episodes it was slowly glitching, now it's getting better. Now it's perfectly fine. I can successfully acquaint that I cannot predict what is going on in the mind of this show. Okay, I'm not capable of predicting what we were doing 7 years ago. I guess that's my bad for trying. Um, uh, the eliminated contestant for actually, sorry, the contestant with the most votes, which ends up being is Adobe by what? Apparently, according to the voting numbers itself, by one vote. 328 to 327, but Adobe joins over good, which is crazy, by the way. The fact that that is just like a tiny tidbit added on that we didn't focus on is crazy. When do you have an object show voting that's come down to a one vote, like for real though? Like, everybody likes to think about these, oh my god, ultra close voting, but the amount of time that an ultra close voting actually happens is kind of rare. But one vote, you should have focused more on that. Come on, you from 7. Come on, Leo friends from 7 years ago. What are you doing? What are you doing? But okay then. Adobe ends up being the host. Today proceed to send everybody to Leo's head dimension, which apparently exists. That'll be interesting to see. Adobe decides that the challenge is a yoga ball contest. The teams that pick one person to go. By the way, yes, the thing I said the other episode, we should let the teams choose who does individual challenges more than usual. Let's fucking go. So that way they all have to stand on top of a yoga ball and not fall. Well, they pick a dead OJ, which makes sense. I mean, as long as nobody else bumps into it. Okay, I mean, it's kind of a dangerous tactic, right? Because if somebody were to bump into you, right, for some reason or another, you would be pretty cooked. You know, like you would kind of it would not be a good situation for you. However, if nobody touches you, you should be chilling because you're just laying there. The ball isn't going to move on its own, so you should be chilling. So I understand that tactic. To be honest, it's a pretty interesting idea. I would probably not have tried it simply because I don't trust the situation. Like the yoga balls are so close to each other and we're on the moon, like some weird stuff's gonna happen, so I wouldn't trust it. Eventually Pants from the hidden lair that Black Holy hasn't seen yet throws a rock to help winner win. And they do that, and eventually throwing a robot Leo off the platform and ends up hitting them, and their team is up for elimination because actually only the first person to get eaten with. It's kind of interesting to have such a small challenge. Like we have a challenge that from start to finish takes about 12. Like I don't even know. It generally just takes a hilariously little amount. Like from challenge start, it's like 417. It literally takes 15 seconds. Like it's kind of crazy to have a challenge that takes 15 seconds in a video that's 5 minutes long. Like what? But I mean, it makes sense, especially because we have the whole host shenanigans and stuff. But yeah, I swear, by the way, that the ending screen is completely unupdated. Like this thing hasn't been updated in ages. Like, where are the new characters? Like where are the people? Like where is good? Where here in this credits? Where the hell is just where is Adobe? Where is literally anybody that has since joined the show? It's like I see that sometimes we've been changing who voices who, but like we've not actually added any of the characters to the screen. Like what? Like come on. But yeah, I mean, in general, this episode is alright. We'll get to see if Adobe makes a decent host or Fish eventually actually comes back. I still think that Winner Pants, the friendship is kind of weird, especially considering like in one episode the gag was that nobody liked Winner, especially Pants, but Winner was gonna force him to be friends, and then they're actually friends. Like, wait, hold on, wait, that actually worked? Like that's great. Like that worked. That was a tactic that wasn't trash. Okay then. All right. No idea why that episode was entirely in your case. I guess we just weren't feeling good that day. Let's head into episode 10 as the length of these episodes starts getting real. I believe the release date. No, the release is still 7 years ago. No, yeah, it's only the last episode that has a major release change. Okay. Episode 10 is called Kill Robot Leo Kill. Oh my god. Okay, let's go. Hello, I just watched episode 10 of BF Boy Kill Robot Leo Kill. So this episode is we end up having a couple of interesting things. Apparently Robot Leo gets constructed to be stronger, to be better, to be a more death machine style character. So I mean, okay, all right, let's do that. So they are off to do that. We end up having a few characters that get remembered, such as Eggy and Pinky, which exist. Did you know? I like how the Eggy is literally just the same asset as the one from BFB, like on the dot. There is literally zero changes to them. But okay then. Alpha. Adobe ends up hosting the elimination ceremony. The prize is to turn green. Can confirm they did do that in a different show. But was it to turn green? Did they turn? No, they didn't do turn green, and they did turn blue, right? They did turning blue in the show. I think they did that in BFB, right? Did they? Hold on. You know how I can't actually remember. No. They did. Wait. No, they did turn orange. Yeah, no. They did turn orange. You turned orange if you won. Yes, I remember that. Okay, yeah. So yeah, we're taking that. We've got way less votes, 211. The voting counts have been very interesting for this show because I mean you gotta remember it's 7 years ago. The view counts for this show are currently really high. They're on to like for example, this video actually ends up having the most views I think out of any of the BFBOI episodes were not recommended to watch at 200,000. That's why I still felt like watching it because like even though sure there's a video that recaps it, it's like this feels like an important thing in my opinion to watch it before anything else. So I kind of felt like I should have watched I should watch BFBOI. So indeed I did. Um and yeah, we end up having some stuff here with the eliminated contestant, which ends up being, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, the box head. The box head will get super mad and they activate the laser plan, which ends up missing Adobe and ends up hitting black hole instead, which means that black hole disintegrates because of the strength of the laser beam. That's one hell of a laser beam. A black hole's pretty strong. One of the strongest things in the universe. Then you built a laser beam stronger than it? I'm not. That's a laser beam. I mean, the fish is officially back. They were hearing it the whole time, even though they were, apparently they were hearing it the whole time, and yet somehow they didn't realize that Adobe was, existed, which feels like a contradiction, but okay. And you know what? I was actually correct. I did actually get the hint that the eye was fish taking over. That is genuinely what I said, and I was correct, but unfortunately, I was not correct enough to believe in it. I didn't believe. I put the idea out there, but then we scrapped it for like 2 episodes, and then it was like, damn it, it's not real. Then like it is real, damn. Because the thing about this show, and I'm very sorry to it, is that it's not well animated enough for me to trust the visual cue, basically. So like when I see an animation thing that's a bit off than usual, it's like, yeah, I can consider it, oh yo, this wasn't like this before, maybe it's a thing. But at the same time, this show doesn't feel like it has a consistent enough basis of animation to where you can do that without me not also thinking, hold on, there's animations errors here all the time, why not just do this? But why not? Why would this not be one as well? Right? So that's kind of the thing that's going on. But yeah, I'm glad that at least we had the possession thing. Adobe eventually, Fish agrees to be Adobe's co-host. They go and bring everybody in, including the fish people. They actually bring everybody into their own pocket dimension because this is a battle for this is BFB, 1 million times over. So everybody has their own pocket dimension because 4 has a pocket dimension. Don't understand. You need to do the exit again. So okay then. And in the meantime, Adobe comes in to set up a couple of teams. I believe 4 teams of 5, if I'm not mistaken. That is what they end up doing. So the teams that end up being formed are Team Sucks, or SUKS, for a Black Holes team, which has Hanger, Robot Leo, Glasses, and eventually that freaking blocky that I'd never remember the name of. So that team is that team's there. I mean, it has Black Holy back as a contestant, which of course Black Holy has been definitively one of the main characters because of their hostfulness or their hostful status. I do think that they're probably gonna be taking a backseat, or at least they should take a backseat, because we've had their main character arc. Now let's relegate you to side character a little bit. Let's get some other people back in the game. So I hope that this team isn't too interesting. And then the next team is Team Hot, because Lava is hot. So that's fair. I guess that team is Diamond D, 7, Red Bow, and Gold. This might be the least interesting team of all time. There is nothing going for any of these people. I could not give a shit about any of them. I'm not going to lie. Unfortunately, that is one of the things that this show is kind of failing to do. Like, I don't really care about anybody in this team, for example, because it's not spreading the screen time. Like, it has enough screen time to do it. It's just not spreading it well enough. It's kind of spreading it in the same 2 or 3 arcs, which makes those arcs feel pretty complete, but it kind of makes so many characters feel empty, And then we have Team Blue, because except Bucket. So, okay. I mean, I guess you could paint the bucket blue sometime. That team is certainly blue, so that's nice. And then we don't actually have a... Oh, no, sorry. There's also Team Armless, too. They're still a team. They're still armless. That's fair. I find it interesting how Fake Apple suddenly remembering the whole friends, oh, hey, like, I remember Pinky from season 1. Let me recover them. And it's not kind of weird that nobody ever remembered them. Like, it's kind of... This feels like it should be a bigger deal than it is. Because especially in the Boyer remake, the remaster, they do put a lot of emphasis onto this. Onto like, I'm going to make you forget about Pinky, right? It's like, I'm going to make you forget about this or that, which is okay. I mean, it adds on some interesting situations onto the mixer. So I definitely do vibe with what they did in the remaster Boyer. But in this show, we end up actually that we're really not taking it that seriously. Like, it's not that big of a deal, which is kind of just the weird part about it. But anyways, Fish eventually decides to make a rejoin challenge. We're all on a bed, apparently, a real life looking bed. That is the land inside of Fish, which is interesting. And then they all do a rejoin challenge for, well, you guessed it, rejoining the show. So they all go run off, and eventually the first person to make it, Bandifi, obviously. Then also making it is Owl. They just kind of fly by. They are an owl, so you would predict them to be capable of doing that. That makes sense. So, yeah. Then Red Stick also makes it. They are strong physically, athletically. That makes sense. And then the last person to make it is Jeffy. Oh, you know what? They would know this environment. This is kind of an SML style environment in a way. So I'm going to actually allow Jeffy to get by on this one. I think that's pretty legit. That makes sense. That's pretty honest. And I don't really mind it. So then we have our rejoin poll. Who's going to rejoin? Famously, usually the rejoin is always the first person to get out. Which means that Red Stick is going to be... I'm just going to play it safe on this one. I'm not going to do any weird stuff. I'm just going to say, in my opinion, Red Stick is the character rejoining, because that's just usually how it goes. That's usually how it goes. Even though 7 years ago, I don't think that the status quo has changed too much on that aspect. So I'm going to say Red Stick is going to be the rejoiner. Although Jeff, considering it's a character, and they are the first one on the order, might be the one to rejoin. But I'm saying Red Stick because they were the first booth. All right. And hey, it seemed like Leo from 7 years ago heard me from past, from beyond, from the future, heard me from the future, complained that the new characters weren't added to the screen because now they've all suddenly been added to the screen. Let's go. I am successfully pointing out things that were noticed 7 years ago. Let's go. I'm sounding like fake Apple. Why did that rhyme? Okay, anyways, I'm gonna. What am I doing? This video is dumb because I'm watching a show that I'm not even supposed to watch. So like, I'm just gonna. I guess today's vibe is just a little bit dumber than usual. Okay. Episode 11 of BFBOI is titled "Spin, Baby, Spin" with 4 exclamation marks. That's a world record. Let's watch it. Okay, I have just finished watching BF Boy 11 Spin Baby Spin, where firstly we discover the rejoin results, which are mildly surprising to everybody because actually Red Stick doesn't rejoin. They get pretty decent votes. They get 205, as the voting count yet again has increased exponentially to 700. Back again, the voting count has been going like a roller coaster, but I don't really know. Hey, roller coaster, haha, like the challenge, but yeah, I don't really know what's going on there. My presumption is that episode 9 had the freaking bonus, not the bonus people, had like the people from the other show, so it's like a crossover, and they voted for their fella. And then in episode 10, we end up having like a lot. It was the biggest episode yet, and it did end up just getting a lot of views naturally. So that's my presumption where the hell those votes came from. But anyways, eventually Owl rejoins with 336 votes, because I guess technically what the viewers don't do is they don't necessarily vote for the first boot. They try to vote for the least relevant, right? The one who's like, oh, they deserve the second chance, they didn't get to do anything. So Owl in this case does that, even though that the reason why they got eliminated and nobody remembers them is a good one, is because that they're a speakingless character that doesn't use any of their mechanics, doesn't do anything, doesn't have a personality, their asset doesn't move, so it ends up being a nothing burger of a character. But the viewers ended up forgetting that, so Ao ends up rejoining. And then our challenge is to be on a roller coaster. Why? Just stay on a roller coaster as long as possible for each team. Flying contestant Black Holy ends up being completely frozen for this episode. I told you they were going to be less relevant. Al also gets frozen. And then the challenge ends up just being to stick for as long as possible. Glassy obviously immediately gets out. They're scared of roller coasters. Lava ends up burning like 3 people because they're slowly disintegrating. And in general, mass chaos ensues after Army fella, which, by the way, you're called Army, right? Because you're like half of an arm, was like the weirdest part. Like, you're not a full arm. That's the part I found the weirdest about this asset, It's like, what? And eventually throws Ribbit Image at a couple of people. And then mass chaos ensues. The baseball flies out. 7 hits Lollipop. Lollipop hits Hat. Goes in Hat's hammer. Hat spits it out. It ends up Lollipop slices in half accidentally. The freaking red bow tie. Lava ends up disintegrating completely. It ends up being a mass chaos immediately. And then eventually Bucket. Yes, the scaredy cat ends up not being so scared anymore and actually manages to win the challenge for their team. Shout out to that. That's pretty cool, especially in the episode where Bucket gets to turn blue. So now Blue team is fully blue, except they're not going to be fully blue anymore. They were fully blue for one episode, and now they're back to not being fully blue, because the Owl ended up joining them, and they're not blue. I mean, unless they ask Adobe again, which, I mean, Adobe is mean, but also nice. So, I mean, maybe we can get away with that, I guess. And then we have our vote to eliminate. I like the implication that is made when Adobe puts up a poster of the dead people in the vote to eliminate, that, you have to be alive. So, that means that when somebody's dead, they're literally not there, which is interesting because wait, does that mean that everybody has to be alive to be like, are they physically standing in the elimination screen? Like, all right, boys, go to the elimination screen. You know what to do. We gotta get the shot. Like that's what that implies when the dead contestants are added on after the fact. It implies that every single time that the team's up for elimination, that is what they're doing, which I refuse to believe. There's no way that that's what's happening. But I mean, I don't know. I guess it is. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. So we end up having some stuff. I like the post credit scene is interesting. Being like, no, I'll save you, Black Holy, bro. Just ask. It's like, yo, it was temporary for the challenge. It's not forever. Flying contestant not allowed. Okay, the challenge is over. Go bring him back. It's like, oh yeah, I'll bring you back. Go ask. Adobe will do it for free, or for the cost of a subscription to their services, which is probably like $1 billion. But around one between those two numbers for sure. But okay, then. By the way, I entirely have neglected to mention in this episode, when talking about the last episode, which I kind of just did on accident because I didn't really have much to say about it, but I do want to at least just point it out. That Blue Leafy, apparently from another show, is another sort of crossover character, but again, they're kind of just there. They go talk to Ben Deefy, and Ben Deefy apparently gets hurt eyes, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, they get awkward by it. No idea who this Leafy is. They talk and like they have 8 eyes. They look interesting. It looks like the type of character. Well, I don't know. I don't know the show where they're from, but like they would get up to some interesting things over there for sure. And yeah, all right, that is all for episode 11. We're going to the next record episode, and if I'm not mistaken, it's the start of the episodes being released 6 years ago rather than 7. The next 2 episodes were released 6 years ago rather than 7 years ago because of the specifics of the months that we're in. Whatever. It is titled "Not These Guys Again." Let's go. Let's watch it. Let's do that. Boom. Okay, I just watched episode 12 of Battle for Boy. And we still have, by the way, the please make a reaction video text, which is quite funky. So this is the longest episode yet because, of course, quite a bunch of stuff happens. OJ gets fixed up, which also means they get a half new model, which is quite nice to see considering, we're not stealing models anymore. And then we end up having the current situation. Basically, the recovery center has been sold. Okay, there is no more recovery center due to budget cuts, which means that we currently don't actually have any way to recover contestants, which means that for this episode, after everybody riots, it's like, yo, we can't give you a recovery center yet. We can give you a recovery center in a bit, like in an episode, but for this episode, no recovery center. Okay, sure. I guess we can do that. In general, this series is like kind of giving me it gives so much vibes of like BFB, like I understand that it's a BFB coffee, but it's so BFB. Like it is so coffee in the way that it's like, oh, we were doing I guess a technically half unique way of elimination with the fish tank and stuff. We just scrapped it and made it the regular BFB elimination where everybody gets sucked in while doing a weird scream sound. And we have just done that, and like even okay, I don't think this criticism doesn't count, but like even from a nowadays perspective, the way that these new recommended contestants come in into the actual series really reminds me of the Teapot shows with the debutantes. Like it's just that style. But yeah, we just end up we do so much BFB, and even jokes from BFDI like budget cuts and stuff. Like it's just so much of them. I'll be curious how much that's carried over into the actually good seasons, because that is the main thing that this show has going for it. That like it survives off of entirely how much it's leeching off in a way. Like unfortunately to it, the amount of the original stuff that it's doing is like the thing is it's barely doing anything. The stuff that it's doing is okay, but it's mainly just it manages to stick itself together with a lot of BFB glue in the middle. to make sections function, and it's like, okay then, I guess. Anyways, eventually in the rocket ship they will all be going into the moon and succeeding, and then we have ourselves a challenge. Actually, no, first we have ourselves the elimination. Forgot about the elimination, where two people are eliminated, Diamondy and Seven. Those are the two contestants eliminated with 39 and 35 votes. Not too many votes this time around. Yet again, continuing the roller coaster votes that this show gets for some mysterious reason. But yeah, goodbye to y'all two. Eventually, Seven. Apparently, there's a Diamond wants to give a love letter to Lava when possible. We'll see. But eventually they end up. But all of the rejoiners get to arrive to protest, like we want to rejoin. Then they get mysteriously all sucked into Adobe, which is weird. According to the lever. So I guess Adobe also, I guess as a host, earns a little bit of host powers of having an inner land. I guess this is just how I guess it's just how it works now. I guess, is that just how it works? Like, yo, we would like, if you're a host, you get an inner lands within you, right? Because that's what happens. Black Holy did that, like you couldn't go in the black hole, you just die. But now you suddenly can, because Black Holy is the host. I think they go with fish. Then they go with Adobe. What the hell would the Adobe lands look like? Would it be like? Are they like in the different programs? Are they currently adventuring Photoshop? Are they adventuring Adobe Acrobat? What are they doing? Acrobat Reader? What are they doing over there? I'm kind of curious. But okay then, we end up having ourselves a challenge. By the way, interesting thing that I noticed, for a scene or two, it seems like it might change depending on who's animating each scene, but there seems to be a disagreement about where the hell one of Hat's arms, or cap, where they're called, go, because basically how the asset works is that, of course, it's the hat and then the sun blocker. However, it's the question of would the arm go at the very, very end of the entire body, or just the baseline of the body? And that seems to be a disagreement. It seems to be that they can at least move their arm anywhere between that range, but like where it is naturally has kind of depended and changed person by person, which I think is rather interesting for sure. But anyways, we have ourselves the challenge, where we have the help of the not the algebraians, just the number people, where we have a 529, which is a person that, of course, Adobe didn't have great relations with. But speaking of Adobe, I'm sorry, Adobe, what the hell happened? I swear, okay, right? Adobe did not sound like this. Adobe has earned the most like squeaky voice of all time. I don't know what's going on with that, but like, I swear that wasn't their voice before. I swear this is the new thing. Like, they used to speak like this. Like, what? Why did they do that? I don't know. But okay, interesting. Anyways, eventually they end up going into a chamber where they have each room. They have to successfully do whatever the number says to get by. For some reason, they're just bringing glasses on. Glasses remain completely still. Nobody, no soul in the entirety of the show has had the idea, yo, guys, what if we maybe should, clean up the barf that is on. Like, nobody has ever thought of that. they've been there for weeks, bro. Like, they've been there for ages. What are we doing? Because again, because I do think, as far as I'm aware, I do think the show runs on a half metric of real time, right? Because of, like, when the host leaves and comes back, that amount of time has actually passed. So, like, they've been like, where have you been? You've gone so long, right? You've gone for years. So it's like, I think that's a thing. Anyways, a 5 tells him to stack up to 10. Why the hell is it stacking up to 10 and not to 5? I'm just saying. Come on. Ain't no way the number 5 is gonna tell you to stack it 10 times. You know, it just doesn't. It just wouldn't work like that. You know, like it's not. It's not the way that it would be. Okay, so then also we ended up having, of course, some team stack. Some teams did pretty smart. I'm not gonna lie, that whole thing bouncing it, bucket brings it, bounced off the hat into winner, who latches on and grabs it. That's pretty big brain. So yeah, a couple of people do quite well. The 2 room is to literally just make anything 2 related. So of course everybody proceeds to do the most complicated things possible, because yeah, I don't know, they overcomplicate it. Like, come on, bro, you gotta think this tactically. Like, this shit is just do anything 2 related. You know, draw the number 2. It's easy. It's a squiggle. You know, like 2 doesn't have to like it. It just has to be. 2 is pretty nice as well. You know, these numbers are not like 4 from BFB. Even though, I mean, I guess it'd be fair to think that, consider this is BFB 2, the series. So like, yeah. Then we have the next room. Well, like, somebody makes a toy. What, you knitted a toy? In the time where you could have drawn a squiggle. Then it's pour the giant bucket into the giant bowl, which they do. In fact, I do find it interesting how one of the recommended characters is literally just like a screen cap of Mr. Mime. Like, that's just the asset from Pokemon. Like, there's nothing, nothing changed about it. But okay, I see. Um, then eventually some teams did it. Brady got left to rot because in this challenge, for some reason, we decided that Army was gonna be extra mean. Was like, I'm taking charge, okay? You're not gonna understand anything. So it's like, okay, you're not allowed to do anything. No helping, no nothing. So Army is officially the mean character for the turn. Then we have the last challenge: throw a football into past the net, the thing, the hole, and then we end up I will say, by the way, this, you know, circle thing ends up looking suspiciously like the recovery center. I'm not gonna lie, that might just be the recovery center looks suspiciously like that, like a ring, rather than the ring looking suspiciously like a recovery center. But it is still true that it would have been funny if the people got recovered and that was the recovery center. But eventually, in the last second, Ribbit Image ends up being like, the screw off to freaking Army. So they end up actually winning the challenge because the freaking hanger missed. Either way, their football was slower than the other one, so they would have been out. But yeah, and eventually OJ, who was sad, is in. And then we have a vote to eliminate. This I'm actually very curious about. I'm very curious about this vote to eliminate. You want to know why? Because 3 characters were entirely not present. Like Black Holy and freaking Robot Leo, literally not present in the episode. However, in the voting screen, they point that out. They point that out by putting the sticker saying that they were dead, which means that it was not fair. So I'm really curious, will the viewers vote out one of the 2 because they weren't present in the episode at all? Will they feel bad because oh yeah, they were dead? Will that be the thing? That is the debate. My prediction is they will keep those 2 in, and they're eliminating glasses instead because they're technically not dead, but they haven't done anything. They haven't moved in ages. They've been completely stopped, and their ass is pretty much just a bar from BFB. That's my prediction. But we'll hope. We're hoping for the best out here. I honestly have no idea. All right. Episode 13 is titled Balls. Let's go. Okay, I just watched BFBOI 13 Balls. So in this episode, we end up having a couple of things, a couple of stuff. So OG gets sent to Earth after they try to play catch with them. They forget that they're on the moon, where, you know, if you get thrown, you'll end up apparently landing on Earth because somehow they're like 1 meter apart. So okay, sure. Then we end up having some characters. Winner is still absolutely stuck within the bucket. At that point, just kill Winner. But like, you know, we end up having recovery tokens, which apparently 1 token allows you to recover a contestant or a set of contestants, which is interesting. But yeah, just grab one, say the names, then the recovery token will recover them. This does mean that there is a theoretically finite amount of recovery, which is a very interesting little concept, isn't it? Like the factoid that sometime that we might actually have to start getting more and more health conscious as time passes, because we're actually like how do I say this? We're starting to run out of tokens. I don't think that is something the show's going to do, especially as episode 14 is the last one of the season, as far as I'm aware, even though, of course, we're in the mid-season, but the show eventually gets stopped, gets cancelled, presumably, because I don't know what else they would do. And we end up having ourselves at the elimination. Oh, yeah, Lava gets super sad because, of course, Diamond D's out. The gold bar, at least as far as I'm aware, should still have that note. If I remember the note that Diamond D said. Look, the thing about it is that, yeah, okay. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, Diamond D got to finish the sentence. However, despite the fact that they didn't get to finish the sentence, they should still theoretically have been, able to, like, sort things out, because they can read the note, which that's like a thing. If they can read the note, then they can see that it's directed at Diamond D, and Lava gave it. No, sorry, it's directed at Lava, and Diamond D gave it to them. And then secondly, just weird. So all right. Anyways, we head into the elimination ceremony. So the elimination ceremony, we end up having two people eliminated, which I nearly forgot. We have 173 votes. And I was actually 100% correct in my prediction. The characters that actually were in the episode are completely safe. The two ones that were dead are in danger. However, they're not as much in danger because, there's some pity towards them for being dead, right? So they couldn't literally participate. And then Glasses, who technically could have, but for some reason wasn't around, ends up getting eliminated by a significant margin. And then Black Holy, for being mildly more relevant overall in the story of the series, comparatively speaking to Robot Leo, ends up surviving. So this vote, definitely the most logical one of them all, I think, in my opinion, so far. It's a very solid system, for sure. And I think that, yeah, definitely one of the top ones yet. Anyways, we also, by the way, I think we have a new asset for pants, which looks rough, I must say. It looks like a block of blue. But anyways, we end up having a rejoin content that apparently there was an episode 12.5 that I didn't know about, okay? I promise I did my research, as in I looked at the playlist saying BFBOI episodes and was like, this is the episodes of the season. If there's an episode of the season that isn't in the list of the episodes of the season, my apologies for not knowing that it was one of the episodes of the season. Okay, my apologies. All right, but out of these new rejoiners, we end up having Fork in a Toaster join, which, to be fair, I agree, that is the most interesting concept for a character. You know me, I love me some characters that are two characters. This fits the bill perfectly. So we end up having a carrot. For some reason, the triangle fella or pyramid ends up getting disintegrated, according to Leo, which implies that, I don't know, for some reason something's wrong. Maybe we were like, don't use my character in your show. So it's like, okay, yeah, all right, gotta invent a reason to get rid of them. And now by the way, oh yeah, we have the intro. The intro's real. The intro is real. The one. Like that we see on the remaster episode 1. I was wondering what that was on about, to be honest, because I was like, hold on, why did they remake the intro like completely? And I was like, no, so this is how the intro is in BFBOI, the latest episodes in 13 and presumably 14. So that makes way more sense, actually. The intro's pretty solid. They're just walking at different paces. We get to see Adobe eventually, so it's all pretty solid. Of course, we have here the cool Lava is still upset, and then our challenge ends up being dodgeball on balance beams, because balance beams, balance beam, balance beam, balance beam, balance beam. So that's all cool. So we invent a couple of tactics, here and there to take down the balance beam. Some contestants without arms end up struggling. Army, who has become the resident mean character. I mean, I guess that's how you get a mean character to stay far. You have a relatively low down, half mean, not really character, and then randomly in the middle of the season you go like, yup, this fella is gonna go nuclear, and it's like, okay, I mean, if that's what you want to do, then that is what you can do, I guess. So, all right then. I just, yeah, I don't know that arm, by the way, for the half fella. I still don't really know because it doesn't even have to be low. It can be high as well. Like it can be anywhere. Um, Eventually Army just ends up being so unbelievably annoying that they end up getting pushed off by their own teammate, by Brady, because of them just being hilariously annoying. Like, their own team works against their own team if it's to stop Army, which makes sense. And you know what, I do actually really enjoy how we've immediately had a challenge that highlights the toaster and fork partnership really well, because, like, usually, okay, nearly every time that a debutant is there, they will win the challenge. That is absolutely a nearly uncontested fact. However, a lot of the time, they win the challenge while not necessarily doing anything, or not necessarily like deserving to in any way, right? Just kind of YOLOing it. But in this case, they actually have a challenge where we have a character with so many arms, and they end up proving to be better than a team with no arms at this challenge that requires throwing, which is more complicated. So, like, in general, that all makes a lot of sense. And in the meanwhile, we have, of course, the elimination, which is the most obvious army elimination of the century. I don't think I can genuinely, right? I don't know if I can come up with a more obviously obvious way, like, elimination ever. Like, if Army doesn't get eliminated with a record percentage of like 70% of us, I'm gonna actually riot. I'm gonna riot because the votes will be rigged if that happens. Because it's impossible. It's literally impossible. Like, it's gotta be. It literally has to be. In a way. Um, like, OJ wasn't really present in the episode, but like, I mean, it's technically their fault as well that they're on Earth. But like, you get, especially at the post-credit scene where you get the sympathy vote as well. Like, there's no way, Fake Apple got thrown off. Ribbit Images and Brady are all correctly calling out Army. Like, it's all fine, So yeah. In the meanwhile, this episode is pretty interesting. How this is the pause point, though. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, is the most viewed of the old episodes, because it's the pause episode. Like, this is the episode where our hiatus happened. So 13 was the latest episode for a while, and those tend to end up garnering a little bit more views. In fact, it actually has more views than the comeback episode, which is actually a recommended to watch episode of the series, episode 14, which is also 21 minutes long. So it's going to be interesting to go back a little bit to the modern style. It'd also be interesting to see if it's in the exact same style as the remastered. Because I think it's from roughly the same equivalent, from the same amount of time ago, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, I think if it is, it is, right? Let me check. 3 years ago. BFBOI remastered 4 years ago, so it's actually newer than the remaster. Okay, that's interesting. All right. All right. Well, we've got one more episode of Battle of Idiots to watch it, titled "We're Back or Not." Let's watch it. Let's talk about it, and yeah, do all of that lovely, lovely, lovely stuff. Okay, let's go. I've stalled you long enough, right? I've stalled you long enough. Do you want me to stall more? Do you want me to say balance beam a few more times? I feel like I've said balance beam enough times. You can make a Sparta remix with it. Okay, let's go. Okay, so a little while ago, I just watched the 14th episode and the final episode of BF Boy. We're back or not, where we get a little bit of context. Of course, first of all, it's been a couple of years, 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, since the last episode by this time. So you got to set yourself in that tone. The entire time has passed. ODA has happened. Yeah, ODA, that series that exists. I haven't watched it, of course, because I haven't watched any object shows other than BDRII. Again, that was the premise of the series, remember? But I have heard of it. It is one of the interesting view anomalies in object show history, where the only episode to have over 1 million views is its finale, which has pretty much never happened. When does the finale get the most views, right? But with ODA, it's in fact true. But anyways, we end up having some our recap here, and then we end up discovering that they decided with this new art style. It's actually kind of different to the art style of the remastered, which is a thing that we notice happens quite a bit with remastered. Remastered purposefully end up having a different art style. Of course, I'm mainly thinking of the II remaster being done with sort of a different art style, but like you see how the BF Boy and now the, of course, Boy and Boyer remastered, they kind of have a different art style to this, which is interesting. It makes it a little bit more different, I guess, in a way. And we decide, then Fish decides that they're going to be canceling the series because it's just, I wasn't ready for this many contestants, so we're just going to cancel it. Okay, if I'm good, I'm not feeling up for it. Making the contestant rejoin and stuff is fine. I'm gonna say though, I kind of gotta say it though. It's kind of not accurate to how Fish would do it. Because, we've seen how it's like when Fish cancels a season. When Fish cancels a season, this guy just fucking dips. This guy just simply flies over, disappear for 3 year, come back and do it. Yo, did you remember? Well, we're doing it at news time. So Fish actually communicating is something that maybe, just maybe, has never been seen before. So yeah, it's not great. But okay, then Fish decides to eventually they actually decide to go up to Earth. Black Hole, I mean, enjoys being up in space, but obviously you're a black hole, right? That's your natural habitat, while everybody else doesn't have their natural habitat. We end up recovering all of the dead contestants, including a, for some reason, very, very off-putted, not off-put, Diamondy, which when we're reaching out, Diamondy seems very off. I'm not sure what exactly happened to Diamondy up down there, but they have been abysmalized. Pants comes back to their old, I mean, of course, it's a new asset, but it's an old style of the new asset, because that weird asset that they got in 13 didn't like that one. Saw it for one scene, thought it was a completely different character. So I'm nice that we keep it. That we're keeping it fresh. Winner's still friends with them, and then we have Diamondy, who, that guy dead, and then we eventually try to find out some stuff. Oh yeah, the boss guy is dead, and then eventually we end up having the vote. So we're officially having. Apparently, we had a poll to decide who should win the season officially, who should win it. A couple of years back, which, okay, I see, that's interesting. And then we end up having some interesting things. We have, the group of Toaster and the Bowtie and Owl, which, by the way, this has to be one of the first times that Owl has actually flown. Like, the amount of times that Owl has actually gone out of their way to fly is like pretty much none. Like, it was kind of interesting. I don't know if I ever made the joke. I don't think I did. But like, Owl's like the one flying contestant in history who doesn't fly. Like, what? But eventually they're flying, and they end up seeing a sparkle over in a bush. What could that be? Ooh. But then eventually we discover who won BF Boy according to this vote. It is Winner. Winner won with 200 votes. Now, of course, the classic question. Army and Fake Apple would have been eliminating episode 14, by the way. We get the results there. One of them, I mean, obviously, and Fake Apple, it's just kind of the next one in line, I guess. Even though I thought it would have been an OJ thing, right? But whatever. It's Winner ends up winning the season. This makes sense because you have to remember that in hold on. Okay, so I'm trying to remember the timeline of BFB because the timeline of BFB directly affects this voting procedure. Because my guess, okay, is that if I'm not mistaken about the timeline of BFB, okay, by the time that we did the episodes of freaking B, like the original episodes of BF Boy, you we what wasn't a thing yet was like we were still in the BFB like hiatus. I think we're roughly around that time. And Teapot wasn't a thing yet, as far as I'm aware. So then a Teapot started to be a thing, and of course within Teapot we have got Winner, right? And Winner is a character in Teapot that people kind of like and kind of find interesting. But of course, this winner from this show has nothing to do with that winner. They are directly just simply made to be the opposite of loser because that's just kind of a concept that naturally springs up. So then when you arrive into this voting procedure a couple of years later and you go, okay, hey, who should win the season? You have this character that's sort of topical because winner, but also acts as an extremely interesting time capsule, no? Because the winner that we see in this show is directly a time capsule of what somebody would have imagined Winner the character to be roughly like when thinking about like characters, you know, when thinking of the opposite of loser, when thinking of winner. So it's a very interesting time capsule that ends up getting a lot of votes on this winner because oh yeah, that's really interesting because now we have a winner, but that winner at that time was the best that we could do. So like, you know, you just did the loser but opposite, and that makes sense. Of course, it does make the show a little bit goofy because we're needing to deal with a weird thing. If you could, the other characters that were up for winning apparently were Lava, which makes sense. They were sad at the last time in BF Boy. That makes sense. And then Black Hole, they did pretty much bring the season upwards in terms of like having them actually host the challenges and stuff. And people just like Black Hole. I don't know. Black holes are just an interesting, universally interesting concept, I guess. Um, so okay, then we end up having some lore on Winter that apparently they literally have a negative emotional aura around them. I love saying negative emotional aura. It's a term that the Mario 64 community randomly started throwing around for creepypastas. So of course I'm gonna say negative emotional aura. It ends up literally makes everyone around you hate you unless they've somehow already made a connection with you. Otherwise, that bond doesn't work. So, okay, good to know. Winner really wants to win the $1 billion, but it turns out that they lied. They lied. They don't actually have $1 billion. And then the box boss appears. And they're like, I want to host an object show. Or, how do I want to. I don't know how to do that. But I want to host an object show, and then they end up doing that. By the way, these episodes are actually subtitled, which I mean the other ones were, but these ones are subtitled quite well as well. So shout out to whoever subtitled these. You did a good job. You did a good job in subtitling them. So they lie about the price, and everybody's like, "What the hell? What? So everybody gets super mad. You've been lying us. You were doing this for nothing and nothing of value." And then this other box bot is like, "Hey, look, I got a prize. It's pretty cool. It's better than the other guy who didn't had no prize." Of course. All right. As I've said, prizes tend to be three tropes. Number one, random item that is a joke item, but everybody really wants, such as BFB, BFB, BFDI. What does that even mean? I don't know, but everybody wants it, right? Item number two, money, literally just money. Money is interesting, right? Dark II and this show, BF Boy, which had the prize of $1 billion. Okay. Or number three, the prize is a wish or the ability to do anything or to have anything you want. That is this prize. I mean, it's a mildly overcomplicated way of doing it because the prize is a dimension that you can form anything in. So then you can form something in the dimension and bring it out. So then it's pretty much like you can have anything you want, but there's an extra step. So it's like, okay. Yeah, we're in that prize category. Look, I understand it's so hard to invent prizes that are not in one of the three stereotypes, and this show directly. In a way, it was always kind of a stereotype. At least by the time of BF Boy, I don't know how original the next seasons ended up being. Of course, we'll watch them in due time. I mean, we'll watch them when I can. Okay, not make promises on if oh yeah, maybe like a couple of days. No, I don't know. Okay, it depends on releases, but yeah, eventually we end up having a couple of things, and everybody decides to join the show until oh yeah, by the way, pretty smart way to have get Jeffy and JC get out officially. They just been deleted because they made Fish upset. Valid way to do that, by the way, because of course those characters you need to get rid of them for extra character, like not extra character, like extra meta reasons. Like in the real world, you need to get rid of them. So that's a smart way to do it within writing. And then pretty much everybody switches until for some reason, oh yeah, Adobe also switches until for some reason they decide to battle for a $10 gift card to Shrek Pizza, the best pizzeria in town. So of course that means that people will go switch to the fish show, which is I'm sorry, what? I mean, like, okay. This is one of those things that's just kind of dumb. You know, this is one of the things that's just kind of dumb. Because it's like, okay, in the BFBT boss split, which this is obviously imitating, you have the power of 2 and a BFB/BFDI as a prize. Okay, as the prize comparison. To be fair, the power of 2 is much better as a prize, and most people go there, right? However, the power of 2 still does not give you the ability to necessarily make a BFB or a BFDI. Is this amazing thing, right? Especially as we later discover is like the only one in the world at the end of BFB, right? So like, that's fair. Okay, that's all cool. So that's why people might want to still, oh, the power of 2 is a better prize. However, I want to go fight for this unique thing that the other thing won't give me. Yeah, sure. However, the problem with this split is that it just looks stupid on every single angle because you can, like, remember, the other prize is being able to generate anything you want. If you win the pocket dimension, you can generate a $10 gift card to the pizzeria. It's not like that's one of the banned items. Like that's literally what you can do. So that's why it doesn't work as a split because the other thing just has that, but and even better. It's like it's even better. Like I understand it's a dumb prize because Ford also had a dumb prize, but Ford had a dumb prize that was genuinely unique and irreplaceable compared to the power of 2, which doesn't give you necessarily the power to form a new thing that's never existed, right? So it's like it's possible, but in this case it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and maybe the point is that it doesn't work. However, I'm gonna point out that it doesn't work. Anyways, a couple of people end up switching. The only reason, okay. There is one valid reason to switch. There's only one. However, none of them actually choose it because of it. There is a tactical approach in choosing the weaker show because you'll have more of a chance to win. Because if you imagine, okay, you can either it's kind of like choosing. Would you like to go for $1 million? However, you have a competition of let's say, 40 people, 40 contestants. Or you can go try to win this smaller prize of like, I don't know, 1,000. However, your competition is 5 people. You see, even though the other prize is much, much better, there is a valid tactical output to actually staying back and going for the weaker show. Because if you want to come out with something, you'll have a higher odds when the competition pool is smaller. So that is a valid reason to join the weaker show. However, in this case, I mean, it's like, what the hell? None of the people actually do it for that reason. A couple of them just like, yo, I want pizza. Generate pizza with the other prize, please. My God. Oh my God. But anyway, yeah, a couple of people do it. Then some people switch because, of course, they're like, "Oh, my friend's there. I gotta be with my friends and stuff." So yeah, they end up making their own decisions, and then we have some splits. All right. So let me quickly check. Okay, so the grasslands end up being the competition where the first show ends up being, and then we end up having. So okay, so boy bub. which is the season hosted by Fish. Okay, cool. That season and the season that was the focal point because look, okay. To be fair to this show, one thing I'm gonna give it credit for is okay, even though that this is of course a much better episode than usual, and it's been 3 years. This episode does keep to its heart the main thing that BFBOI is, which is a absolutely shameless 100% BFB ripoff that just takes everything that it does to the T. This episode respects that identity to a T. This is so similar to the BFB split. It's actively hilarious. It's like it's so stupid. It's like what? It's like it's so shamelessly doing BFB again. And I think even Fake Apple pointed out, oh, this reminds me of something. That's not how Fake Apple talks. I mean, they kind of talk like this, but a little bit more wobbly. So like they end up doing that. And yeah, so we have our contestants. So they are OJ, Black Hole, Hat, Gold Bar, Ben Deefy, Ribbit Image, Boxhead, Eggy, Lava, Red Stick, Bucket, the freaking other squarey fella, and then Lollipop. This lineup is okay. This lineup is fine. It is a lineup that shouldn't theoretically create the amount of episodes that Boy eventually has. So I'm not sure what the hell is going on over there in that department, but okay, I guess sure. There are a lot of fan faves around this part. Like if you think about it, out of the top voted contestants, right, which were. Of course, winner isn't here, but other than that, Lava's here and Black Holy's here, so we end up having a lot of the top contenders. I don't remember who is the next ones on the poll, but like there's Ben Deefy here, which I mean I don't know if Ben Deefy's a fan favorite, but like Ben Deefy, to me is one of the titular characters, absolutely. As one of the boy and Boyer like top dogs alongside Ribbon Image, so I think those end up being quite focal point characters as well. So. And then we have people like the First Spoon and stuff. So we end up having a pretty okay cast here. I don't mind them. And then the other fellas end up having their challenge with. They end up having 17 contestants, right? They end up competing for MCS, which is my cool show, which is, of course, the show we're on the road to get. We're, I guess, going to be halfway there. Not really. We're going to be a decent percentage of the way there after I'm, of course, done with this, because we're still going to need to watch all the Boy which is going to be interesting. I don't know if I can even do that in one video, because that show's pretty enormous. So, but we're going to need, I guess I'm going to need to see. I might need to do a special day. But then we have 17 people, which is Glassy, Fork in a Toaster, Diamondy, Depressed, the one, Bread, 7, Owl with the red, with the PB bow, Winner, Pant, freaking Army, Pinky, Fake Apples, they're bad together, Robot Leo, sorry, Hanger, Minecraft Dude, Glasses, and Fish Tank. This is kind of the teapot style cast now, where like you end up having a lot more. Like there's still a couple of more, there's still quite a bunch of sprinkled in characters that were relevant, like kind of that Fake Apple, that Winner, that Robot Geo, that Army, right? But and Diamond as well, right? But a lot of the cast is bigger because majority of it is the numbers, right? It is taking advantage of the opportunity of having the bigger show, quote unquote, and of piling on more of the irrelevant quote unquote contestants so far onto it, because that way they give it relevance, right? That's kind of what Teapot did. Teapot took a lot of the cast that wasn't too relevant from BFB, left BFB with a lot of fan favorites, a pretty all-star cast that BFB ends up having. However, the Teapot cast ends up with the rest of them. There's still fan favorites in there, absolutely tons of them. However, it ends up building fan favorites, like it builds. Teapot acts as the building ground for characters, while BFB acted as more the continuing ground for characters that we already knew, right? So it'll be interesting to see if Boy and MC, and how do you say it? Boy like generally, you just gotta say it like that. If it's gonna like build, if it's gonna like establish the character we already know, or if MCS is going to be doing that. It's also going to be interesting because you got to remember that watching BFBOI is actively not recommended. We're doing this right now for knowledge, and I'm glad that we have it. To be honest, I'm pretty happy that I watched it. I don't think I would have gotten nearly this level of analysis in if I didn't actually watch the previous BFBOI episodes. So like that's interesting. However, when making we're gonna need to deal with the fact that most people were wanting to not watch this, which means that we're gonna need to sort of reintroduce a lot of these characters, right? Like I know a bunch of stuff about these characters. However, we're gonna need to kind of have a half a factory reset on majority of them heading into it, which is certainly gonna make a little bit of an interesting situation because yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of not sure what's exactly gonna happen here, but I guess it is just gonna be the way that it is. And then we end up having, oh yeah, the rejoin vote, yes, because no, not rejoin vote, the debutant vote. So the debutants that were originally banished end up having their own chance to speak up. I'm glad that these that of course, I mean, it's a classic debut style, just like the teapot video usually had. Again, this is such a shameless copy. We're even doing the freaking one debutant that teapot did, but they do get a decent amount of time to speak. Like every one of them actually gets a line, which is pretty solid. It's not like all memes. But yeah, I'm curious who's gonna rejoin. I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna be bold out here. I think B emoji saying Poggers is gonna get them not the first point bonus. I'm saying Boomerang gets it. Okay, Boomerang. That's my bet. I'm betting on Boomerang joining because it's usually the first person who joins. Boomerang seems kind of sweet, and they're near the first, but they're not quite the first. So I'm gonna predict it. Even though some people were smart, I like the seeing tool as like the gag. Um, and then yeah, maybe your mom is the last and could also have a chance of voting, but usually people don't vote for the last. Usually people vote for the first. So I'm gonna say Boomerang. I'm a Boomerang believer, okay? But I have no idea. That's kind of a bold prediction because like Boomerang didn't say anything interesting. I'm just banking on it. Is your mom actually voiced by their mom? That's actually a crazy credit scene. But yeah, we'll have to see. And that is BF Boy. That is the episode BFBOI 14. So, as some final tidbits on my opinions on the season, was it worth it to watch it? Honestly, it's not as bad as it sounds. Like, I mean, look, it's one of those things where like inevitably the way that it's not very good puts a stain on it. Like it feels like it puts a stain on your resume, right? Because like, oh shit, are you really gonna need to watch this for me to continue the series, right? Is that type of thing where it's like it's difficult to embrace it when it's not that good, right? And on average, what you're making now usually doesn't impact it that much. It's very close to the debate that II has, right? Where like Inanimate Insanity has had to do this remake because it felt like season to them at least, it felt like season one had this stain to it, right? Where like it's actually so hard to watch. It's not very good. So then like working it gets better, but like in general, um it ends up as having this difficulty to it because like oh my god, but at least season one ends up being kind of not too relevant, so and they can remake it, right? Which is the type of thing BFDI doesn't really have to worry about this as much. In my opinion, BFDI holds up very well. That's my honest opinion. I don't know if people agree with this. I don't know if people heavily disagree with this, but in my opinion, BFDI original actually holds up surprisingly well. You can watch that series nowadays. It's the main thing that it has going for it is that it has a consistent okay art style and style to its episodes where like it doesn't necessarily ever feel like it has a quality dip that much, so that at least its baseline ends up being continued all throughout, and that's one of the things that's powerful about this. Would I recommend watching this season? Um I don't know. I can't tell you. I can't tell you. I genuinely cannot tell you because currently I haven't watched the other ones. I haven't watched BOIBB and I haven't watched of course, MCS, because that's the thing that we're going to be doing in a while. So I cannot currently tell you. I can try to guess, right? However, it depends on how much of this matters to the other ones. Like if the characters keep very similar personalities and their like relationships and stuff into the next series, then I am going to probably most likely tell you yes, you should. That would be what I would do. However, I'm gonna say that if they don't do that, which seems to be what we're doing, because we're considering this season unimportant in the grand scheme of things, then I would probably guess no. Okay, that is my current prediction. However, it depends on how much these new seasons call back to this one in terms of event structure and all of that stuff. Okay. Um, but yeah, that's what I got to say about BFBOI. It's a little bit of a weird one to have a nearly full episode for, but hey, look, sometimes things just happen in the way that they happen. So, it ends up being that way. Anyways, we have to get to one more thing today, which I'm going to watch at flipping midnight. Okay, because that's the way, that's how scheduled I am right now. And then we'll talk about it. Unless the next section is an outro, in which case I didn't get to it. But the video is 3 minutes, so we're gonna be capable of getting to it. Okay. I will introduce you to the next section right now officially. Okay, let's go. The last thing that we're going to be watching today is WTB. I wanted to take a look at more stuff today. However, it was I didn't have actually that much time to surprisingly enough. Considering this episode really long, I didn't actually have that much time. But yeah, couldn't take a look at too much new stuff, and I had to eventually, get through this. MCS deserves to get into, and if I keep delaying it, then it'll never happen, right? But basically, yeah, because I have something kind of embarrassing. So I somehow didn't realize that I had to watch another episode of the Who's the Best Power. Like, Who's the Best Power? There's 3 episodes, but had just had a spin-off season released 2 days ago, and I somehow didn't notice, even though it released 2 days ago. And I have been firmly called out by the crew for not doing that. So I'm going to be doing that right now. I'm gonna watch it, and we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna do that right at midnight. It's gonna be nighttime me talking about who's the best. I think is what it's called according to the crew. It's called a pow of a showdown. Let's go. Okay. Yup. That's Let's go. Okay, so I have just watched Who's the Best. It is nearing on very late. It's like past midnight. However, but that's not nearing. That just is very late. Well, whatever. Uh, basically, we gotta talk about Who's the Best, okay? Because I really wanted to do it today rather than keeping it to another day. So this is an extremely interesting little product. So what we do here is we have a very short episode with just kind of mainly a challenge running through it, not too much character interaction focused. That's why, for example, like the team forming gets completely skipped in this episode. Okay. Each character is, of course, also a different Mario power up because it's related to, of course, who's the best power. And then they use their various power ups for capabilities and all various things, right? And try to push each other off the balance beam. So, like the tornado power up uses the tornado, the ice flower freezes, the pipe launches, the piranha eats, right? So the power block, acts as a super strong thing when needed, right? And all that stuff. So like those are the types of things that are useful. The shells, of course, rush like that, right? So all of these things end up being leading to each character's personality. But you know why? This has a very weird vibe to it because it's kind of BFDI style, but it's not, because you know what it is? It is a series, okay? Let me describe what this to you. It is a series of just basically all competitions that takes place throughout a couple of minutes, that has a bunch of characters who we don't really see interacting that often and only mainly use their capabilities visually to help them through the challenge, but can't interact too much. What is that? That's a mini. This show is a BFDI mini. in disguise. That's what this is. The way that this episode is a BFDI mini in disguise as a full episode, as a 30-minute episode, right? I think this is in a way trying to evoke old VFDI vibes, but I think it accidentally is actually evoking heavy BFDI mini vibes because this is exactly how that functions. This is like on the dot. We skip the parts where, we actually have to do interactions. We only show the challenge and maybe the contestants doing the challenge with their various powers. Personally, I enjoy this. Because like one of the more complicated things about a BFDI mini also is that you have to figure out what each character's power is or whatever. Well, with this one, again, you have that preconceived knowledge of Mario, just like in WTBP, right? So you have the preconceived knowledge of Mario to be capable of delivering. Already kind of knowing, oh yeah, this character is going to be able to do this, and like, oh yeah, you're going to be able to do that, right? So you can already kind of see it, which is pretty solid. And I also think, I'm just going to say this, I'm not sure, but with a concept in a little bit of a more simplistic approach, okay, I'm just saying, there is a possibility that this could escape an object show bubble. Just saying, technically, if this was more on the, like, if I think that this would have a chance to make it in the Mario scene, of course, in the Mario YouTube scene. Realistically, it won't, because there's no way to find it. It has no Mario metadata on it. That's one of the biggest issues I think with the show right now. Is that maybe it's kind of a lost search query right now, because the full title of the show is just a sentence that won't ever get you anywhere, and of course, and writing a few letters nearly never finds you an object show that you want. You always have to write W blank object show, which is a little bit unfortunate. I don't think there's much that this series can do about it, because the title is just kind of complicated search term. But in general, I mean, it's still doing well. But I could honestly, if this was somehow made into, I feel like this could reach the Mario bubble and people find it funny, especially maybe on a short form platform. Again, like this kind of has a mini vibe to it, like genuinely just kind of feels like one, despite not really being one. So I find that very interesting. But anyways, I mean, of course, this is a much smaller project. If I'm not mistaken, it's made entirely by Chris Animations, which is the main creator. Is it? Or no, wait. I think there was a second name in the credits. Yeah, the Dream stuff also helped out with animation. So 2 people were working on it. The Dream stuff is also commented on the video. I remember you. But yeah. Well, what was it? So of course it's a much smaller project without really a crew and all that stuff. But yeah, if you're curious about my opinions on the characters, they're all pretty solid. I must say, I like how some of them have the more like the ultra direct personalities. Like Dragon Coin kind of keeps the one from WTBP, so kind of does Ice Flower with the ice. But I kind of do like the powers that the piranha has. I like how the piranha like directly collaborates with the piranha rather than being scared of them. So yeah, like it's a proper tool. It's like a pet. I like how the stopwatch clock is like, the clock that I think reduces your time. I thought the clock that reduces your time or that increases your time, because that's the one that I want. Because if I don't remember, I just don't remember the Mario enough for this to know. Because if this is the clock that reduces your time, then this is an extremely smart character, because it's like, oh yeah, so since it reduces your time, that means that you're gonna be like, so they're a character that doesn't want to be here, that doesn't want to spend time doing this, is because they're a character that reduces time. That's cool. But if they're a character that gains time, you would think that they're the opposite. No, is that not the item? Like, if the item is that you gain an extra 5 seconds, why do you not want to be here? I thought you would want to be here longer, because that's what you are, right? Would that be wrong to think? But I don't really remember what the item is, to be honest. We have the tornado lady, who is being pretty smart at actually using it. The pipe is also being pretty smart at using it. The shells, they're shells, to be honest. But who else is there as part of the cast? Oh yeah, there's the freaking gold block. Unfortunately, I am gonna say the gold brick is not doing the correct thing. Do you know that the gold brick, when you run with the gold brick, it should release coins. There should be a trail of coins everywhere that this guy runs. Just saying. Otherwise, it is incorrect. It is not correct. um, but yeah. And then there's the double mushroom, which I still haven't figured out what that means. I'm presuming that means that they can double up like cherries, kind of like the cherry power up in 3D World, but I haven't seen it happen yet, so maybe not. Um, and then we also have eventually the two team safe stopwatch. See, I swear, yeah, you must have been like, oh, you gained extra time, so you were safe and didn't fall. Yeah, like that type of thing. I don't know, but okay. Anyways, those fellas are up for elimination. Who's going to get eliminated? I have no idea. Maybe it's Piranha because they were, I guess, mildly mean. But no, but I don't know. Because again, it's kind of difficult. Mini voting is also one of those things that is extremely interesting, right? Because especially when I looked at BFDI Mini, I just see that everybody just votes based on vibes, just the immediate vibes that the character gives out. To be honest, so yeah, I mean, okay. All right, I have talked about this 3 minute thing for nearly 10 minutes. I think I've pretty much said everything that I could say about it. I'm very sorry for not covering this the other day. That is absolutely my bad. I don't know how I made such a monumental blunder. Like, Jenny, that's a crazy blunder. Because I absolutely could have looked at it yesterday. That was not a problem. I had time that day. But then I have to review it here, 1 in the morning. Like, bro, what the hell? But okay, very sorry. And yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on all future Who's the Best Power episodes in a nearby radius. All right, that's all. Let's do an outro. Alright, that is going to be all for today's episode. I mean, it isn't a mega episode, but in the way to where it's not actually that interesting. We take a look at an extremely old 7-year-old show, and then we also take a look at one episode which I should have taken a look at the other day. So yeah, okay, I'm sorry, it's not that interesting of an episode, but look, the road to MCS is long. You know what they say about a road trip, okay? You know what they say about a road trip? Like 50% of it's not entertaining, especially if you're like in the US or something. Like 50% of a road trip just driving through Montana. Okay, like it's not that interesting. So I absolutely uh I mean, yeah, I don't know. Either tomorrow or one of the next days, we're going to do the BFDA preparation special. I'm just going to say it. That's a video that will happen because BFDA 23, if I'm not mistaken, is releasing. And I have like 10 episodes to catch up with. 10. But BFDA episode 10, imagine those. That's going to be a 4-hour long. I don't know how I'm doing that. That might need to be 2 days. I'm just saying. We might need to have the BFDA preparation day 1 and 2. That's a very realistic possibility. And I'm very sorry that happens. But it's Jack and Jellyfish. They are the kings. They are the rulers. We gotta respect our rulers a little bit. We can't skip BFDIA, okay? Anyways, that will be all for today's Object Catch-Up. For the show, for the specific seasons of the shows that we looked at, we're all caught up. All right, goodbye. Bow.